Yes, hi. In this video, we're going to discuss how you can handle images to improve your object. So obviously, you can 3D model almost everything in SelfCAD, but what if you want to take an existing image and apply that to an object? So there's actually two ways of doing that. One thing is a rendering solution. So let's say if I'm going to have a simple cylinder and I want to add to it, let's say make it look like, let's say roofing at this point. So I'm going to add something over here. So you can add something that quite interesting and so on. But this is not 3D printable. This is not real. This is just rendering. This is just a visualization. But what if you want to use interesting thing to actually create geometry, real geometry that could be 3D printed from an image? So we actually have a few ways of doing it. So let's start. I'll start with the basic image with 3D. I'll take an image. I've downloaded here an image, a basic image just found online. Basic ladders kind of image. So in this case, we create an image like this, and you see this actually creates quite nice output. You can create a lot of interesting things. If you take like a person, a face, it may not be as good, but an object like this is quite easy to do. So if you want to create real objects, there's not very tiny details. Even tiny details will work, but it will not always remove the background as easy as this. And depends, we have the sliders over there to adjust it. But nevertheless, let's say I'm actually doing this for a request that I got from someone to how we can make them look around a cylinder, kind of like a cylinder. So what you do over here, let's go, we have a bending tool. So the first thought would be to go to, obviously, to bending. So over here in deform, you can bend an object. This should have enough things. We actually giving a message, you see that to add resolution. This has enough resolution, look how many faces it has, so this is actually quite good. So we should be ready to go. So I'm going to bend this around, and actually depends always where you bend them around. So if you want to make them a cylinder-like, it has to be around the center. But this is a little bit of a problem, so let me show you. So I'm going to make it around the center, and I'll make it a complete circle. It will be 360 degree. So I'll rotate it 360 degree, and this actually, look what's happening. So we have actually two problems. The first problem is that the start and finish is not closed. It's not solid, welded together, so it will not be printable. This is a small issue, and this could be fixed very easily. We go to the Magic Fix tool, and the Magic Fix tool actually will weld them together. So let's see if I do something like this, and it will take a minute to think, to process, but not that long actually. I think it was less than a minute, almost done. And okay, so this actually is welded together. That's perfectly fine. The problem is though, it's not perfectly rounded, and this actually has to do with physics. When you bend something around a center, it will start doing perfectly fine around the center, but then as you start bending, it becomes, the other parts become more distant from the center. It's no longer the center. So if in order to make this perfectly rounded, it is possible, but it requires more work and a little bit understanding in physics, because basically what you need to do is you need to bend a little bit and then again adjust it to bend from the center and then bend again and adjust it. So sometimes it may not even work at just the center. You may need to have a custom position, so kind of manually position your gizmo. We have a manual gizmo position. I think to make it perfectly rounded, you would need to have a manual gizmo position and play around with the positions, how to basically get it bended. So it could be done, but yeah, it requires probably a few minutes of work. Okay, so what if another way to apply to make it rounded is actually similar what I actually already did a video, I think, for basically Boolean operation. So another thing is, let's take it again, the same image, same idea. And in this case, I'm going to use the Boolean approach, which is, okay, so I'm finalizing this. So, okay, so let's say I'm gonna center this object and make sure it's all centered. I'll center this object, I'll change my selection and center this one, make sure it's centered. Okay, so now once I know it's centered, all I need to do is I'll scale out this object. I'll go to scale, and I scale it out that it covers the entire object on this side. So basically it covers half of the object. It may not be perfect that the center is actually center of this, it's a little bit less. So you may need to play around with the exact measurements, but for now, just demonstrating the idea. I'm gonna go basically then to stitch and scoop, and I'll use this intersection part, which will give me just the part that intersects. And basically this will give me, it will think it's quite a lot of faces, so it should take some time, but nevertheless, this will give me a half an object that it's, yeah, okay. So now you see we got this part done, and the rounded part, half of the cylinder. Now the solution would be you can do the same thing on the other half, and obviously, as I said, I'm not doing it perfect with measurement positioning, you may need to play around, but you can kind of get it done in a way that you then do the other half, and then you stitch them together where they overlap the circle, and then you do a magic fix. You can't do a magic fix on two objects together. So before you have the two objects, we need to go to merge. You will merge the two objects, and then once it's merged as one object, you can then go and do a magic fix, which will stitch them together. Magic fix is basically over here. So this is not a perfect solution, but in some cases, this is what you want. Now, what if you want to do something different? You want to basically apply it to an object in a different way, not perfectly rounded, but just applying kind of like painting on an object, an image. This is actually where sculpting comes in. This is a new feature we've added recently where you can do adding an image over here. So we have some basic images, but in this case, let's work with the same image. I'm going to, oops, I clicked the wrong thing. I have to go basically select image. So you go select image. Let's say we'll take the same image over here. Okay, and now if I go down over here, I've already checked it, lock position. If you go lock position, we can start basically taking the image and dragging it out, and you can actually rotate the position. So in this case, it's not as nice as the original. It doesn't remove the background, so on, but it will give you, if that's what you want, this basically will give you the approach. It also requires a little bit playing to make it look perfect and nice, but nevertheless, this could be done. So it could even be a lot of effects depending how much you extrude it, and some of these other settings, basically how to apply that. So that's basically the idea. You can, and if you finalize something like this, this is 100% printable. This is not like a texture as was shown before. It's not a visualization effect. This is something that's really, you can print and get the exact same results as you see over here. So these are basically it. This is all of the ways you can handle images in SelfCAD. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and like it and comment if you have any. Okay, thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.